Welcome back to BizJet TV. My name is Fab Poli. I'm your host, and today we're going to be interviewing another great private jet owner. We're going to find out from Don Catalano, resident in Long Island, New York, all about why he chose the airplane he has. He's also a pilot himself. He's been flying for 25 years. He started off owning his own Mooney, which is a single engine piston airplane. Started using that for business, flying around to visit clients around the eastern part of the United States. He then moved up into a Piper Meridian, which is a single engine turboprop and pressurized airplane. Learned to fly that, flew that around. He still owns that. And then he decided it was time for a jet because he wanted to expand his business further, and also because with the new government taxation laws in the United States, he thought instead of paying $5 million to the tax man, why don't I invest that $5 million into a private jet, which will help me build my business faster, do more deals, and also create more jobs. So let's go meet Don Catalano.
Thank you, Fabrizio.
Okay, so Don, tell us a bit about your business, first of all, and what prompted you to get an airplane and use it for business?
Well, our business, we do 2 or 3 important things for commercial real estate users. We do what's called tenant representation, where we help them secure the best lease or purchase deal. We do economic development for the same deals, and we do consulting for them on commercial real estate. Mm-hmm. We're based here in Long Island, New York, but we travel the country and we're networked, frankly, throughout the world.
Yeah.
So we've been using corporate aviation for over 2 decades. It started, probably 25 years ago. We were working with Allstate Insurance locally, and we're doing very well with the local manager, and word started to spread through the grapevine of Allstate transaction managers. Hey, there's this great real estate outfit, and one thing led to another. And at that time, I had finished my private pilot's license and obtained my instrument rating. Mm-hmm. And I bought my first new plane, which was a Mooney Aviation.
A Mooney, yeah, I've flown a Mooney. It's a great airplane.
Great little hot rod 4-seater plane. Uh-huh. And with that, we expanded our business from Long Island to 6 states, up and down New England and down through the mid-Atlantic of the U.S. Uh-huh. So that first plane more than paid for itself in transactions, and we were able to get to customers. I remember we had one transaction. It was a rush because with Allstate, there was a storm that came through and they needed to get up. They called us on a Friday afternoon and they need to get 10,000 feet by that next week, which is a man of La Mancha type of deal. Yeah. Well, we flew down that day with our Mooney. We were looking at real estate sites Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think by Tuesday or Wednesday, we secured temporary space for them. They needed for what they call a CAT center, catastrophe center, because the storm had swept through and they had to get a bunch of people in there to handle the insurance claims. Mm-hmm. We could never have done that transaction and many others like that without our own aviation. Mm-hmm. And when I say our own, the Mooney was our first plane. The HondaJet Elite that we now have is our 3rd plane. Mm-hmm. We're not renting. We're not chartering. And we don't share. Those assets, and we look at aviation the way many sophisticated companies do. We look at it as a time machine and as an asset. Mm-hmm. I'm like you. I complimented you before on your library. I'm a voracious reader. Yeah. And one of the things that I remember decades ago, I was reading about Sam Walton.
Yeah.
And Walmart.
You watched my video about the Walmart and how they built the company by using private jets.
I did not. I'm going to Google that. I'm going to look at that. I was already familiar from reading about it, but I saw there was a CNBC special. Yeah. And at the time, this goes back 5 or 10 years ago, and they had, I think, 27 corporate jets.
Yes, correct.
And I don't know if they've expanded it since. I actually recently was out at a Cessna event at Bentonville.
Yeah.
And so are the grandchildren of Sam Walton, who are terrific pilots in and of their own selves.
Yeah.
But Sam Walton, who ran the company very conservatively when it came to fiscal responsibility, yet he understood the power and impact of aviation. Mm-hmm. And he found, I had read, I think 500 of the first 800 sites by using aviation to scout out sites, land there, and quickly make deals on those sites. Mm-hmm. Am I correct about that?
That is correct. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So he's not the only one, obviously, that's used aviation.
And also, I'll point out another thing, Don. During the recession of 2008, 2009, when most companies were getting rid of jets, they kept expanding their jet fleet.
And they are shrewd and frugal. So yes. What does that say? It says that corporate aviation, if properly employed and exploited, if properly done, is a tremendous, you get a tremendous return on investment. Mm-hmm. And so they've proven that for decades. So as a small, certainly not Walmart size, but as a smaller company than Walmart, we started with that one plane and we did phenomenally well. And then I sold that after 5 years and moved up to a Piper Meridian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which was from the fast piston of the Mooney Ovation to a turboprop. Now on pressurized, can go up to 30,000 feet. Mm-hmm. In comfort, and expanded the range. And of course, you're doing about 275 knots. Mm-hmm. Layman's terms of, I guess, about approximately 300 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. It was another quantum leap in what we can do and where we could go. And so that expanded our envelope and our ability to service real estate transactions outside of our little market. And not only that, as you very well know, and I suspect that some of your viewers know, there's over 10 times the number of small paved airports that we can get into with our general aviation that are over and above what you could get into commercially. So for instance, last I checked, 600 commercial airports where the airlines typically go into. And some of those airports they go into once or twice a day, like Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah.
But there's 6,000 paved strips over 3,000 feet that we can get into with our light general aviation aircraft. So it's not just small companies, it's big companies that exploit that. And in working for our client base is typically for the Fortune 500 client base. And working for them and understanding their real estate needs, here's one thing I could tell you. They may have their headquarters in a downtown central business district, a CBD, like Chicago, New York, LA. Invariably, you will find that they scatter throughout the country and throughout the globe now. There are other facilities. It may be warehousing, it may be office space, and they're not necessarily located in the big, expensive downtown areas. So they're in secondary markets, tertiary markets, which are very poorly served by the commercial airlines. So being able to use aviation and being a pilot myself, and I train myself to the highest standards. You know, I'm very conscientious about it. I realize that I have a responsibility to my passengers, and as I like to think, the civilians below me.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to do it, if you're an owner pilot, you take on the responsibility to train to professional levels. Yes. Or hire, as you've pointed out in your videos, hire professionally trained crews. It's an incremental cost when you consider the cost of the acquisition and the running of planes. So we've had the Meridian. I still have it. I'm just putting it up for sale now since 2002. Phenomenal plane. It served us very well. I've actually had some thought about even keeping it as a second plane because it's so useful. I could get into 3,000-foot strips, you know, and I've flown it in all kinds of weather.
Yeah, you can land on grass with a Piper Meridian. You can't do that with a HondaJet.
No, you're not going to do that with any kind of jet. That's right.
Well,
Except
you can with the PC-24, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a waiting list for that airplane.
Next one. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. So in this last year, we started evaluating moving up to a jet. Mm-hmm. And I spent over a year doing due diligence, looking at HondaJet versus the competitors. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we're really good in on our real estate is we turn over every opportunity. We do extremely thorough research, and we expose that research to our clients as far as real estate opportunities. Mm-hmm. Similar to, I guess, what you do and as an aviation consultant.
Yeah, I mean, the key for me is understanding the client's business,
right?
What they do, what markets they're going into, do some reading myself on what these people actually do, and the markets and where this business could potentially go. And then try and talk to the client and make them realize that, well, you know, if you had a jet, you could possibly go here, there, and talk about the ranges. And, you know, I mean, am I going to go transatlantic once a month? Am I going to go transatlantic once a year? Do I really need to go in one hop or not? You know, right. There's all these, should I buy new? I mean, that would depend on any tax events that you may have. I mean, some people, I mean, I've got, as I was talking to you earlier, these two brothers, and one brother bought a brand new airplane because he had a tax event and he had to write off $50 million. The other brother's spending $10 million on a jet because he doesn't have a big tax event like his brother. So, you know, it depends. And so when people ask me to compare one airplane to another, I say, well, it depends who's asking the question.
Right. And what do they say? Go for 90% of your mission. Forget about that 10%.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get one plane that, you know, take that is like a Winnebago, like the Pilatus, that you could take 8 people, no problem.
Yeah.
And then the next day turn that into something that's going to go very fast. Well, I guess there's the PC-24, but even the PC-24 will have its limits. You know, it won't go so much transcontinental.
No.
Right. You know, it's not a Falcon, you know, or a
and some people have 2 jets. They have the small one, like the HondaJet, and then they have a G5 to do the transatlantic stuff.
Take General Electric, interestingly.
Yeah.
General Electric has, I don't know how many, you might know better than I, what's in the corporate fleet. But they're a partner with HondaJet on the engines.
Yeah.
And I know they have at least one HondaJet, and they love it.
Yeah.
They've already put in over 600 hours, and that was last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, every HondaJet owner I've spoken to has said it's a fantastic airplane. I mean, I've had a good look at it. I haven't flown one myself yet, but I've had a good look at it, and I've analyzed the specs and everything in that. I mean, that baggage compartment at the back, the amount of stuff you can put in there. And when I got in the HondaJet for the very first time, when I was inside it, I was shocked at the size. Because it's almost like the Harry Potter tent. It's got this Harry Potter effect. You get inside it, and it's a lot bigger than what you thought from looking from the outside.
It has a good, I think it's either 12 or 18 inches more leg room in the back. So when you're facing someone across the way, when I was demoing it, I'm 6'1". I brought one of my team members, this guy, he's 6'2".
Yeah.
And we sat across from each other.
Yeah.
And our knees were a good 6 inches apart. And that was important to me. You know, if you're flying with a group of guys or it could be guys and ladies, you don't want to be interlocking legs. You know, you'd rather not do that. Just a little too cozy. Yeah. So you want to have a little bit of that room. And the Honda absolutely does. This is one of the many features. Like I said, Fabrizio, I spent over a year analyzing this. The HondaJet wasn't the least expensive option, but I found it was the best option for the money, for me, for my business purposes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they say it has an NBAA range of slightly over 1,400 miles. You know, I think, you know, it's a New York to Florida plane, probably 98% of the time.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I've done that myself, and no problem. And you can do that with IFR reserves. Yeah. And that's what I was looking for. it has the, just talking a little bit about the plane, and we can get back into, how to exploit it, how I exploited it as a business.
Uh-huh.
The HondaJet, the unique features, it may sound silly. I remember one time I was talking to a corporate real estate executive, and it was the first time I met her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the process of acquiring the plane. I think we were in contract waiting for delivery. And we're having lunch for the first time, and I blurted out, and it's got an externally serviced potty. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, dummy, what did I say to this person, this very nice lady, and you're talking about the potty in the plane?
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit, that was a little bit silly.
Yeah.
It's a big feature. And the next time we were talking about the plane, she says, did you say that has a potty?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all human.
Yeah.
And whether they use it or not, the fact that it's there, and we have a wet sink, is a great creature comfort. Psychologically, people are like, oh, this is a real plane. This is a real jet.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're not gonna pull the honey bucket through the plane, after you drop everybody off, it's a big plus.
Yeah.
The fact that it's externally.
Believe me, I used to be a Citation 1 pilot back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, right. So there's that. There's the creature comforts. The avionics right now are the best avionics that you could possibly get, short of the Garmin 5000. Mm-hmm. But it's not only the Garmin 3000, but I don't know if you realize this, it's the enhanced version of the Garmin 3000. Mm-hmm. There's a newer model, and I don't think Garmin has put a particular nomenclature on it, mm-hmm. but I've spoken to Garmin, and they call the original Garmin 3000 like the classic. Mm-hmm. And this is the newest version of it. So there's a lot of nice features in it. Mm-hmm. For instance, talking pilot talk, but you're told that you don't take out a book. Yeah. It's all, you're using the Garmin GTCs to punch in your weight and balance. Mm-hmm. It knows, you tell it where you're going. It knows the runway length. It knows the temperature of takeoff. It knows when you're en route, 30 minutes out, you're punching in your landing data. It picks up from the satellite what the current conditions are, and it says you need this certain amount of runway length. And if if you're heavy, I had a flight where we were originally planning to go to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I changed destinations. We decided to go to Boston, 4th of July. Wanted to go there to see history, tour the area. Well, I had too much fuel on board, so I took off, and I'm en route. And it's a very short flight in the HondaJet from where I am. It's like 30 minutes. And I'm setting up my landing, and it says, "You're too heavy. You can't land." I didn't have to take out the book. It tells me that. Yeah. So I flew around for an extra 5 minutes, burnt off like 50, 100 pounds, and I was fine. Yeah. But the avionics are absolutely cutting edge right now, and that helps when you're flying single pilot, without a doubt. That really, it takes off.
Don, do you fly a lot single pilot, or do you have somebody else with you?
I fly right now, pretty much. I've flown for the last 20, 25 years single pilot. Yeah. So I got type rated single pilot. Yep. And I was telling you before that one of the things that motivated me was that it was a challenge. That as a business person, I have to be very good at my business game. But if I want to be left seat and solo left seat, I have a responsibility to everybody to be absolutely razor sharp, as good as the quote unquote profile pilots, and this is all they do for a living. Yeah. So I put myself up to that standard, and I met it. And I went through getting my twin rating. I didn't need it up until the HondaJet. Yeah. Getting my commercial rating, and then going through flight safety for 18 days. Yeah. And I remember being in the room. It was 6 of us in that flight safety class. This was in January. Mm-hmm. The other 5 guys flew professionally for a living. Yeah. And I was the only owner pilot. So I would say to owner pilots, if you're going to be single pilot, And before I did this, I actually spoke to a lot of owner pilots, HondaJet owner pilots, and also Cessna owner pilots.
Yeah.
I asked them what it's like. You have to be disciplined. You have to say, I'm going to take on that responsibility. So even now, I study a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, I got my type rating and I'm good. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. And I would not trust any kind of professional. It could be a doctor who said, you know, I'm done with med school. I'm good.
Yeah.
So the HondaJet, I just want to wrap up a little bit about that, and I'll tell you a little bit how we use it for business, and then I'll come back for any questions you have.
Yeah.
It's fast compared to the competition.
Yeah.
It's more fuel efficient. It has better leg room. The cockpit, and the competition is good, by the way. The competition is no slouch.
Yeah.
But the ergonomics of the cockpit are superior. Without a doubt, Honda, coming from the mothership, Honda, the car company.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when I was looking at this, I looked at what were their annual sales. Last year, their annual sales was 150 billion.
Yeah.
Right. So HondaJet is a, and when you compare that to the whole overall company, and it's going to grow, but Honda, the parent company, has oodles and boodles of money to do everything.
And also, they wanted to get it right, which is why it took them 10 years to certify the airplane, because they had issue with the engines, and they swapped the engines. They wanted to get the avionics right, the aerodynamics. I know there was a lot of criticism about the engine sitting on the wing the way it is. But you know, that was an original German design from quite a while back. Yeah, the Germans. Well, I had an interesting experience a few years ago. I went to the Boeing Museum in Seattle, and I was in there with a friend of mine. I was sort of telling him the history of different airplanes and that, and we noticed a very interesting feature. There was this whole shelf. There was these shelves with all these different airplanes from World War II, and there was the Japanese airplanes, and they had the British airplanes, Italian airplanes, and then the American airplanes, and nearly every country had one shelf. And then you came to the Germans, and they had 5 shelves of different airplanes. And so I pointed out to this friend of mine, I said, you see, the Germans had far more airplanes than anybody else, all different sizes and shapes, and supposedly they lost the war. But it looks to me like they were far more advanced than anybody else, and it's thanks to the German technology that the Americans managed to land on the moon. Because this is where the scientists came from. They were developing all these airplanes, and then they went to America. Werner von Braun and his team headed the US space program. Right. So it's interesting to see, and the HondaJet, the fact that the way the engine is put on the wing, that's an original German design to do that. That's where that comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's why there is very little noise in the cabin. In fact, another HondaJet owner I was talking to the other day was saying to me, if he takes his headset off in the cockpit, he can hear the conversation that people are having in the back. Now, that doesn't happen very often on a jet.
No, it doesn't, and that's very true. And in the Elite, which is the next iteration of the HondaJet, they've made it even quieter. I don't know what the technical decibel level difference is, but ostensibly it's quieter.
Yeah.
They did something with the engines, so it's a very comfortable, quiet ride. You can talk to the passengers, especially if they walk up a little bit up front. Easy to talk to. I use very small, instead of the big Bose. I mean, it comes with the Bose A20.
Yeah.
Great, but the total overkill. I just use the in-the-ear buds.
Yeah.
And that quiet, and I can fly all day with that. The plane is fast. It's quiet. It's modern. The point you were making is they will spend the money, and they have the right attitude. They're gonna get it right.
Yeah, and this is the first jet of very many.
Oh, I believe so. I believe you're right on the money on that.
Yeah.
And you know, what impresses me is they got it right the first time, which is so near impossible, so hard to do. And they did. I mean, the Elite is a slightly better model for a few factors, but it's not a chasm difference between the two. And so what does that say? It says that even the original HondaJet was really a very good design.
Yes.
So I can only imagine that they're going to come out probably very much like Embraer.
Yes.
With different levels. I look forward to that. You know, maybe when they come out with that, I'll be ready for that 2,000 nautical mile plane. I certainly wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
But it hops up to 43,000 feet, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
One of I remember my first flight in the plane, which was a business flight, which was good. But I was flying with a mentor pilot because I had to.
HondaJet pilot, yeah.
Right, and we were flying from the factory to Florida,
mm-hmm.
and below us, and I took pictures of this on the next red. Total storms all around, and the airlines were in it.
Yeah.
And they were in the high 30,000s, you know, flight level 38, what have you. And they were deviating, you know, 30 degrees. We were at 43,000. And it was just we're just looking at it as a picture on the next red, but we were thousands of feet above it. And I'm watching the sunset, and I'm like, this is cool. This is cool. You know, I never had that in the Meridian. In the Meridian, you know, a lot of times I'm stuck in it.
Well, this is why when I talk to people that want to buy a Boeing business jet, and I'm a Boeing pilot, so, you know, I've flown 6,000 hours, 737s. So, you know, I like my Boeings. But, you know, in all fairness, you take a Boeing 737 up to 41,000 feet, and I've done that a couple of times. It doesn't behave very well.
Really?
The sweet spot is 35 to 37,000. So,
right.
But, you know, you are in some weather at that altitude. But, you know, with the private jet, you can shoot up to 45,000 feet, and you're above most weather. And a lot of people don't realize that. And then the other thing they don't realize is that private jets fly a lot faster than the airlines, because a lot of them fly 0.82, 0.85, 0.9 now. If you think of the Global 7500, there's 0.2, or the Citation 10. I mean, they're up at 0.9 plus. So you're faster. You know, you're above the weather. You're above the airline traffic. So if you want to get a direct routing, no problem.
Direct routing. Yep.
And those are the advantages. This is why, I mean, for example, the Global 7500 is a great airplane if you need that massive range. Because you've got the cabin now, which is, I'm not saying it's like a BBJ, because, you know, obviously the BBJ category is okay for heads of state because there's like 20 people traveling on the flight. So obviously you're going to need an airline in that. But what some people don't realize is, you know, this thing is slow. It flies low, you know, and then you need a massive parking area when you get the other end.
You need a lot of runway, massive parking area. Yeah. The fuel cost must be through the roof. And it's funny, as we're talking, I just watched the seaplane fly by my house. I live on the water, and so pretty interesting.
Anyway, tell us a bit about how you use the jet for business. I mean, do you visit multiple cities in the same day? I mean, how do you use it? Give us an example of something you did recently with a HondaJet and a deal that you did.
Well, you know, with the HondaJet, it's no problem to go to 2 or maybe even 3 cities in a day. Mm-hmm. You know, we're cruising along at 450 miles per hour, 460. No, I think it was 40 miles per hour. I have to convert it. I think it's 485. You know, it's a phenomenal ability to do that. And we could, the HondaJet's good for, you could probably do 4,000 foot strips, no problem. Maybe even a little bit tighter on a good day. Yeah. So it opens up a lot of runways to you. It has the ability, you know, I took a client on the HondaJet. We picked him up in Atlanta, and we went to Dallas on a transaction.
So Don, are you always flying the HondaJet, or you have a pilot also that goes and picks people up for you with the HondaJet?
Well, you know, keep in mind, we just recently got it. We got it at the very end of last year. By the time I got my type rating and did my mentoring, you know, it was probably March of this year that I completely signed off to fly it myself and really started to use it. But I do have another pilot who's there, and I've made a decision that, you know, if I'm with a customer and I'm going to spend time with that customer in the plane, I bring the pilot. Yeah. It gives me the ability to focus on the customer. One thing I found is you can't do 2 things at once.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So if you're going to be a pro pilot, you got to be a pro pilot. if you're going to talk to your client and be a pro consultant or whatever it is your business is for them, and be of good service to them, well, then you got to focus on them. So the decision I made was, when I'm going to have a client in the plane, I'm going to bring a second pilot.
Yeah.
And that gives me the ability to focus on them.
Yeah.
And now I could do a takeoff with, I could do a landing, but the nice thing about it is I can come into the back and we can stretch out and I can talk to my customer. I got the very nice sound system there. It's 24 speakers with a bunch of, as I have playing in the back, classical music. And we can have a business conversation. We don't need headsets, and it's a very pleasant business environment. I purposely didn't get Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you that, if you had Wi-Fi.
I'll tell you why I didn't.
Okay.
What do you see when you go out to dinner now? Everybody's on their iPhone.
Yeah.
Right? We're losing the ability to talk to each other.
Yeah, true.
So I purposely decided this is our inner sanctum.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm with a customer, I want to be able to talk to the customer and they can talk to me. We're in a relax. It has a 24 speaker sound system.
Yeah.
But I purposely didn't get Wi-Fi. You know, the world keeps on turning. We could be 2 or 3 hours without email.
Yeah.
And for my corporate clients, frankly, that is a reprieve.
Yeah.
They could be like, huh, I didn't have to get pinged by my boss, or I didn't have to, check in with my subordinates or my coworkers for 2 or 3 hours, And so that was a conscious decision. I put everything else, every safety feature that you could, I put it on that plane, and we love it. So going back to the business use, keep in mind, I've been doing this for over two decades, so it wasn't a novel thing. I knew what we were doing. We can go to a client could call me, it's 5 o'clock, a client could call me now and say, can you be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock a.m. In Chicago, in Atlanta, in Charlotte? No problem whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And then I could still see another customer before I head home, and be home to have dinner with my family. Yeah. And see my kids and put them to bed, which is extremely important for me. Yeah. I want to try to be home every night that I possibly can. Yeah. So that also goes to my clients. Think about that. So I'm in commercial real estate. So I'm working with CFO level executives and directors of real estate and transaction managers for, again, the Fortune 500 set of customers. Mm-hmm. If they have to go and do a property tour with me, it can be a tiring experience. Sometimes you're looking at 6 to 8 alternative sites in a day, and maybe it's 2 days worth of touring. The last thing you want to do is add to that commercial travel. Now go back to what I was saying before. Other than their headquarters, a lot of companies have office space or warehouse space in the ancillary markets. Yeah. So they can't get directly there. It's not hub to hub. It's not New York to Chicago. Yeah. You could get 20 flights a day. It's could be someplace. We're working up on a deal right now up in New England, and they would fly into, let's say, Boston, and then get in the car for 2 hours. Yeah. Right? Where I can pick them up, let's say in Atlanta, and I could bring them to within about a 15-minute drive from the site. Yeah. And land on a joint use military civilian field with an 8,000-foot runway, and go directly there. But it is not served at all. Yeah. By the commercial airliners. Yeah. It's general aviation and the military. And as you know, there's so many shotgunned around the U.S. Ironically, probably because of the Cold War. Yeah. But also in Europe, I mean, we have a lot of airports here in Europe too that you can land at. I mean, I think of London area. I mean, everybody thinks of the big Heathrow, Gatwick, Luton, but you've got all the smaller airports like Southend, like Biggin Hill, like North, depending where, or even London City, depending on where you need to go in London.
you can land at another airport. Or let's say you're going on business to Oxford. Well, guess what? Oxford has their own airfield. So just land directly in Oxford. You don't need to Gatwick and then travel by 2 hours by car. So it's like that all over the world. And even in China now, the Chinese government have realized that they need to build more airports. So they're building another 200 airports, which is mainly going to service the private jet industry as well as some airline stuff. So they're starting to realize that, that the private jet is a business tool, but they need more runways or let's say open some of the military airfields to civilian traffic. Because then people can start using the private jet as a business tool. So even the Chinese are catching on to that too. So this is happening across the world.
You nailed it. It is a business tool. People that don't understand it may think it's an extravagance, but it is absolutely, if properly employed, it is not an extravagance. It's a business tool. It's a time machine.
Yeah.
If we pick up a client and bring them directly to that, like I was just giving you that example, New York to Springfield, Massachusetts, I can have them, we could do property tours and I can have them back for dinner.
Yeah.
Where if they were to try to do that with the airline, you're going to add another probably 2 days onto their business travel. And these people are already tasked out, 100%, 110%. They're fielding calls, they're fielding hundreds of emails. They're busy enough. So, one of the things that we like to say, and it's very true, the two things that we do for our clients is, number one, we save their companies money on their real estate. Mm-hmm. The other, probably just as important thing that we do for our corporate clients is we save them time. So the individuals that we're working for, the transaction managers, the directors of real estate, the CFOs, we haven't met one yet that says, yeah, I got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can go in there, get them a better deal on their real estate, or get them economic benefits, development benefits that they didn't know about, or better economic benefits that, the Amazon headquarters too opened up a lot of corporate eyes as to what is possible. If we can do that for them, and by the way, when you're taking something like that, you have to go see a lot of different locations that are dispersed. You might be looking at an office facility in Florida and comparing that against an office facility in Austin, Texas, and comparing that against something in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and coming up to New York. You're comparing a lot of different metropolitan areas against each other. It's not just the office product. The office product is, I will say it's homogeneous, because it's never homogeneous. It is unique, but an office, an A-class office in one town is very similar to an A-class office in another town. What is dissimilar is the cost of doing business. What is dissimilar is the ability to tap into a highly educated workforce. That varies quite a bit from area to area. And what is dissimilar is the economic benefits that could be offered by the local municipality and the state. So having this tool, if I could take a client and go look at these different areas, having our own jet, which we're not sharing, is there for at our beck and call, is a tremendous advantage, not just for us. It's a tool that we want to share with our clients. And it gives us a corporate advantage versus our peers who are saying, well, I'll meet you there, call up United, call up American, Southwest, and
So this stuff must help you to close more deals then. The fact that you can send the jet out to pick up the client and take see some property, compared to your competition, which says, jump on United, I'll see you there next week.
Yeah, I'll see you there. And then, when can you get there? And by the way, as you know, in the corporate world, things change. They could change daily. They could change hour to hour. So, you try to get a decent price on an airline ticket, you got to give it a 2-week notice, right? So, but that's not corporate life. And people could say, gee, I was going to be there on Wednesday, but something popped up. Can we reschedule? we're having our own aviation, not only can we reschedule for us, we can reschedule for them. We can say, no problem, because we'll come pick you up when you're ready.
Yeah.
So it is a tremendous tool. It helps us help our clients. That's the bottom line. And does it help us get more business? Absolutely. Because I'm a big believer, while you and I can do this over the internet, across the
ocean,
which is tremendous technology.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in humanoid to humanoid.
Yeah.
And meeting people and developing relationships. And you need to see people in person. They have to get to know you. Business to me is like almost like marital relationships. I hate to sound corny.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, when you have somebody, be it an accountant or attorney, or somebody you use on a repetitive basis, a doctor, it's trust.
Yeah.
That's the key pivotal thing. And you don't develop trust unless you see that person multiple times face to face.
Yeah.
And so being able to call upon someone and have lunch with them and to talk about business, to talk about their needs, to talk about their family, to get to know them as a person. We like to be, we're not just concerned about the overall client. We're concerned about the person who we're working for. Mm-hmm. And, we're at the stage, we thankfully we can work for who we want to work. Yeah. And we want to work for nice people. We want people to want us because we're nice and we're skilled. And so you have to be able to go and meet with them for them to know that about you. Yeah. You can't just do it. This is better than a phone call by a factor of 10 or 20.
Yeah, of course.
But a phone call is almost useless. You cannot get to know somebody by a phone call.
Yeah, I always try and do video calls with people now. I mean, what with this type of technology, I mean, it's a lot. Why not use it? Why not use it? It just makes sense. Now, let me ask you a question about when you chose the HondaJet. What made you buy a brand new HondaJet instead of a pre-owned, I don't know, Citation XLS? Was it the fact you could fly it on your own, or was it just Honda just impressed you so much that you thought, I need that airplane?
Well, there was a combination of factors, and there almost always is in every decision. Yeah. Every significant decision. You mentioned one of them. I wanted the ability to have an owner-flown airplane. So that limited the choices. An XLS I can't do. Yeah, crewed plane. A Citation 4 is a crewed plane. Yeah. But a Citation 3, Citation 2, and 2, Citation 1, the HondaJet.
Phenom 300, Phenom 100.
Phenom, I just watched just this morning.
Yeah.
When I watch my business videos as I'm eating my breakfast, I watched the Phenom 300 video that you just put out.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. It is a phenomenal plane.
Yeah.
It would not, and I have no knowledge of this, but it would not surprise me. Matter of fact, I'd be surprised if Honda didn't come out with a competitor to that. Yeah. Because it is a beautiful model. It does 1,900 nautical miles. Yeah. Flight level 450, or for civilians watching this, 45,000 feet, 450 knots. Yeah. And a spacious cabin. So I look at the HondaJet Elite. Yeah. Frankly, I smile when I see the Phenom 300 because I think the HondaJet Elite is kind of like a smaller version of that.
Yeah.
I have like 90% of what that plane has for a lot less cost. It fits my business mission better.
Yeah.
There are times you would like to have 2,000 nautical miles, but there's many times when you're going to go 500 miles, 800 miles, and you're paying for that every time because when you push as slick as it is, a Phenom 300 through the air, you got bigger engines. And they're burning a lot more fuel. And when you the fees that you're going to get hit with are a lot more. So, you go for as as an aviation expert, you go for a 90% fit on your business use. And the Honda really, truly met that for our current business usage. It was a big step up from the Meridian, as much as I love the turboprop Meridian. Yeah. But it's not overwhelming in expense. Actually, it's very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
The direct operating costs without a loan amortization or anything like that, I think it's $1,250. And that's your engine maintenance, that's your fuel burn, that's your average landing fees and ramp fees. $12.50 an hour. That really can pencil out very quickly on a deal.
Yeah.
So and let's talk about that for a second. It's a tool, if properly exploited. The significant thing about these aviation assets is they have a great return on investment. In my 2 prior planes, each pay for themselves in transactions, in real estate transactions I would not have seen or been able to execute on in the time frame needed. They both paid for themselves multiple times over.
Yeah.
So the HondaJet is it was a little bit more expensive than a bigger investment than competition. I expect that I will pay for that jet in increased business. Within 2 to 3 years. That would be my expectation.
Yeah, but I think what happens, Don, is I mean, your mindset changes. Now you've got the jet, you've got the 1,400-mile range. You start thinking, where else can I go? Where else can I go and look at some pieces of real estate? Where else can I pick up a new client? And then if you suddenly go up to 2,000-mile airplane, you're going to start thinking, within 2,000 miles, where can I go? What can I do with this thing?
Right.
And that's really the mindset changes as the range of your airplane changes, or you start thinking, well, maybe I'll start going to California. So I now need like a 2,500-mile range airplane. Or maybe I'll go international, come over to London. Now across the Atlantic, I need 3,500 mile range. I mean, there's so many things. It's like when I was talking to Grant Cardone, and he was talking about when he went from his G200 to his G550, he said, I'm taking my business global.
Right.
So I need a Gulfstream G550, and he's already toured the world, I think, twice since he's had the airplane. But the amount of deals that open up because now you've got a jet that can take you anywhere.
Right.
I mean, obviously, this depends on the type of business you're in,
right.
What your ambitions are, et cetera, et cetera. And this is why I always say to people when people say, well, compare this jet to that jet. I said, well, it depends who's asking. Because it depends on your business. It depends where you want to take your business. And you made the right choice for yourself. You say, well, I don't need a 2,000-mile airplane because most of the time I'm flying 800-900 miles. So the HondaJet fits my thing. And I can fly on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you mentioned Grant Cardone. I know you got the 10X book, which we discussed before. We've both read and enjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm a big follower of Grant. And you look at somebody like Grant, you look at somebody like Sam Walton.
Yeah.
Is aviation the fire or the gasoline? I say aviation is the gasoline. The fire is already the entrepreneur and the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So what is the very good examples like with Grant Cardone, a very successful guy, totally driven, totally self-made. That's what I really like about him.
Yeah.
He's not shy about it.
Yeah.
But kudos to him. I tip my hat to people like him who just came from nowhere to exploded on the scene and just turned themselves into not just millionaires, but 10, 100 times, 500 times over. And so the fire is already in someone like Grant, right? And hopefully someone like me. I love entrepreneurship. I love business. I love people. I love technology. When will I retire? I don't know. I don't envision it. I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so the aviation, be it a King Air turboprop or a Pilatus, or it could be a Cessna 172, or it could be a Falcon 7 or 8.
Yeah.
It acts like gasoline on that fire. The fire is the entrepreneur who's going to use it, man or woman, who's going to use their brains, who's going to go out and find clients and help them do better. That's always the key. You help someone else, you make their life easier, you save them money, you make them richer.
Mm-hmm.
and this lets you see more people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for the clients,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great for the entrepreneur. But it's the gasoline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Don, it's been great talking to you. Very interesting to hear your story, how you use a private jet to build your business.
Thank you.
Great story. Thank you so much for being on the show. And thanks once again.